Hello everybody and welcome to the musical theatre tag. Hi guys, this is my take on the musical theatre book tag created by Maddie over at Book Browsing blog. I will link her channel and her video down below, but let's just jump right in, shall we? Question 1 is based on the musical Hamilton, which I'm sure everyone knows by now, and the song is Satisfied. So what book do you think had an unsatisfying ending or needs a sequel? Now, I hate to do this on a tag that Maddie created, but my book that I think needs a sequel or had an unsatisfying ending is Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor, which, don't get me wrong, I love Laini Taylor. I love her writing. I love like the themes that she explores. Like, she's phenomenal. I just think her endings are really weak, you know? So this is a trilogy, or the conclusion to a trilogy that follows a girl called Karou, who sort of exists between worlds. She lives in Prague, she goes to art school, but she also runs errands for monsters who live in a hidden world. And it's so good, and I love the series, but the end of this one just really let me down. I feel like they introduced a lot of new information and then did nothing with it. It just ended. And as far as I'm aware, she has no plans to go back and write more. So yeah, this is my unsatisfying ending. Like, I'm still gonna read everything Laini Taylor has ever written. She's like one of my favourite authors of all time. But yeah, her endings just always feel a little unfinished to me. Question number 2 is based on the musical Everybody's Talking About Jamie. And I didn't like the music that everyone's talking about Jamie. I know, don't come for me. But yeah, I don't know if it's because I haven't seen it like on stage. Maybe I'd like it better that way. So I'm definitely gonna watch the movie when that comes out. But I've listened to the soundtrack and nothing like jumped out at me. I didn't really enjoy anything, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, the song is Everybody's Talking About Jamie, and the question is, what is a hyped book that you bought solely because of the hype? And my answer for that one is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas. This is the first book in a sort of new arc in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, so I'm not going to go into this one too much. But A Court of Thorns and Roses is about a girl called Feyre who, how should I describe A Court of Thorns and Roses? Who kills an animal and then gets taken by the owner of said animal to the fairy world. If you don't know what A Court of Thorns and Roses is about by now, then like, where have you been, really? But yeah, and this is the continuation of that trilogy with the short story in the middle, following Feyre's sister Nesta. And I thought I was done with the series, like, didn't care about Nesta at all in the first trilogy, but then everyone got it and everyone was raving about it, and now I own it and I will probably read it at some point. Question number 3 is from the musical Anastasia, which is one of my favourite musicals. I have such a soft spot for it after like loving the film as a child. And the new songs in the musical, Stay I Pray You and In a Crowd of Thousands, I love them so much. And it's definitely sad that we don't have In the Dark of the Night, you know, the big villain numbers, but it's so sweet and I love it. And this question is based on the song Journey to the Past, and it's what book features flashbacks or a developed backstory. And for this question I've gone for The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is about an actress who became big in the 50s and 60s, sort of narrating her life to a journalist, and their lives are interweaved, and it's sort of figuring out where that's come from. And this one, I mean, the whole thing is basically a backstory. She's telling her story to a younger journalist, so the whole thing is just Evelyn's life, and I really like it. And it's not like you haven't heard of this one, but if you haven't read it, I'd definitely pick it up. Question number 4 is based on Be More Chill, which I had tickets to go see, and then lockdown happened, and now I'm so sad because I don't live in London anymore. It's fine. I'll survive. It's fine. But yeah, this is based on Be More Chill and the song Michael in the Bathroom, which made me cry once when I was slightly tipsy. It's a whole mood. But this question is, if you were escaping at a party by hiding in the bathroom, what book would you take with you? And I think for this one I'd want to take something like contemporary, something a bit lighter, a bit more fun, try and get me back in a social mood, because I'm very introverted. So A fun contemporary like Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel and Solomon would be a good shout for me. This is about two teenagers they've just finished high school. They've been competing the entire time. Rowan and Neil have been competing, and they want to compete one last time in their senior challenge, which is a scavenger hunt all across Seattle. And it's sort of an enemies to lovers, or like rivals to lovers, fun contemporary it's just like, it's a really fun adventure and I really liked it. Or one of my other favourite contemporaries on the more adult side is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogle, which is about two characters who are engaged and they realise they don't much like each other anymore, and they try and like prank each other into the other one calling off the engagement, because the one who calls it off has to pay for it, and it's a lot of fun. I really like it. Those two would probably get me in a good mood for going back to party. Question number 5 is from the musical 6. Like, question number 6 is from the musical The Last 5 Years, and the fact that those questions aren't the other way around is just like, it hurts me. But yeah, 6. The song from this is Ex-Wives, and the question is, name a book that is a twist or a retelling of a well-known story. I've got a few answers for this one. I couldn't make up my mind which one I wanted to talk about, so I'm just going to hit you with all of them. So the His Dark Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman is one of my favourite series of all time. There might be a lot of nostalgia from childhood impacting this, but it's about a girl called Lyra who sort of discovers something she shouldn't and goes on an adventure to save her friend who is stolen, and it's so good. And apparently it's a retelling of Paradise Lost, which I am not intellectual enough to have read Paradise Lost, so can't comment on the validity of that statement, but like, it checks. There's a lot of critique of religion in this, so I suppose it could be. And then we have a more recent read of mine, which is Legendborn by Tracy Dion, which is about a girl who goes to a sort of elite university, but not as a university student. She's sort of finishing off high school at this program they have, and she discovers a secret society who are the descendants of the Knights of the Round Table, and it's a really moving tale that deals with like grief and trauma that's both like intergenerational and personal. It's a very, very good book, and it's a sort of twist on the Arthurian legend, and it's very good. Highly recommend. And finally, because I cannot go a video without talking about this series apparently, we have Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, which is the first book in the Last Hours series, which is the 4th series Cassandra Clare's written. So I'm not gonna go into too much what this is about, because hopefully people have a baseline knowledge, but it's set in the Shadowhunter world, and it follows the descendants of the infernal devices as they go about their lives. So it follows Cordelia Carstairs and James Herondale and Lucy Herondale and so many other people, and I love them so much. But this is a very loose retelling of Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, and I am obsessed with that idea. Like, I love that. Cassandra Clare spoke about how she thinks Dickens gets a lot of recognition for his like poverty and like, not poverty, but you know, like social commentary, and not enough for his love stories, and this is just heartbreaking, and I wanted to talk about it, so here we are. Yes, question 6, we have The Last 5 Years, which is a phenomenal musical, but why are these questions this way around? Like, Maddie, please explain. But The Last 5 Years is so good, and Jeremy Jordan is in the movie adaptation, so like, just automatically love it. And the song is Still Hurting. The question is, what book hurt you and has stuck with you ever since? Now, there are a few answers I could go with for this, but none would ring as true as Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. This is the Infernal Devices series. It's set in Victorian London. Is it Victorian? Yeah, let's go with Victorian. It's vaguely steampunk, and this is the last book in the trilogy that follows Tessa, Will and Jem, and it broke me. I'm still sad about it. I read a short story from the Ghost of the Shadow Market that was like, sort of in the aftermath of this, and I just cried. Like, it still hurts me. I'm still not over this. I don't think I ever will be. Cassandra Clare took an emotionally vulnerable 15-year-old Megan and just like ripped my heart apart, and it's still not quite fixed. So yeah. And another also quite basic answer for this one is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. I read this, I was in college, I was about 17, and I was reading it in the cafeteria, and I was just crying. And my history teacher was walking past, he was like, "Are you okay?" And I just kind of showed him the book. I was like, no, because it's just, oh, it's so sad. This is a book about a girl called Liesel. It's narrated from the point of view of death, and it's 1939 Nazi Germany, and it's about a family who shelter a Jewish man and everything that they go through, and it's sad. Okay, picking up the tone a bit now for question 7. We have Come From Away, which I've not listened to yet, and it makes me so sad that I haven't listened to it yet. Like, I really want to, I've just not found the time somehow. But the song for this one is Me in the Sky, and the question is, pick a book that features your real job, dream or fantastical. Now bear with me on this one. It's gonna sound a little odd when I show you the book, but The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Victoria Schwab. Now Addie obviously does not have a job. This book is about Addie, who made a deal with a devil and was cursed so that she could live forever, but no one would ever remember her until she meets someone who does. Now that someone she does, Henry, he works in a bookstore in New York, but also has his own flat where he lives alone. And like, the bookstore has a cat. Like, Henry is living in NYC and just lives on his own and works in a bookshop. Like, does that not sound fantastic? Does that not sound just like the ideal life? Like, I love that. That's amazing. The next musical is Waitress, which I love, and I'm so sad it's shut. Like, I'm so sad that it's closed now. And the song is When He Sees Me. The question is, what book did you fall in love with the second you saw the cover? Now, just bear with me here. So, I've already mentioned how much I love Laini Taylor, but I would not have bought Strange the Dreamer without it looking like this. This is the US paperback. I do have the UK hardcover, but I only have the dust jacket right now. I lent it to a friend, so I don't want to just be holding a floppy piece of paper when I'm talking about this book. But yeah, this is a book about Laszlo Strange, an orphan who was raised in a library. He's a junior librarian. He's been obsessed with this lost city for years, and then one day the delegation show up and he gets to go with them back to the lost city of Weep, and lots of things happen after that. And this is one of my favourite books of all time. I love it so much. Laini Taylor's writing is exquisite. The characters, I would die for them. I love it. But I wouldn't have bought it if it didn't look like this, if it wasn't beautiful. I would have just waited till my library had it and then fallen in love with it then, but it would have taken forever and I might have lost interest and I might have just never gotten around to it if the hardcover hadn't been so pretty. Which would have been a mistake. It would have been very sad. And now I'm glad to have more copies than is perhaps necessary. The next question is Newsies. The song Santa Fe. I love Alan Menken. His music is just like a vibe. And this song is What Fictional Place Would You Love to Visit? Now for this one, I'm taking visit to mean like just like pop in quickly, just like have a look around, maybe meet a few people and then bugger off again, because I've gone for the Land of Fairy from The Cruel Prince, which quite a terrible place for a mortal person to be, but like it would be fun for an afternoon maybe. Question number 10 is Dear Evan Hansen, which we're having a movie now, so excited. I love Dear Evan Hansen. Shout out to my friend Elena for making me listen to the song Dear Evan Hansen and just like making me obsessed. And then me hearing the song Requiem and just never being the same again. But the song for this tag is Disappear. And the question, or not the question, but the task is to hype an underrated book. Now, I've gone for Star-Crossed by Josephine Angelini. I've never heard anybody talk about this book, and I'm not going to lie to you. It's been a solid 7 to 10 years since I read it, maybe. But I remember loving it. I own the whole trilogy. I read the whole trilogy. Like, I still remember everything about it. So, like, I really enjoyed it. I'm just, like, kind of scared that if I go back and reread it, it's gonna suck. But right now, I'm gonna say it's underhyped. So it's about a girl called Helen who lives on this tiny little island in Nantucket. And then one day, a new family moves to the island, and she runs into a guy called Lucas, and immediately she wants to fight him. She's just like, I must kill this guy. And you're left thinking, like, what the hell, Helen? You've been super chill this whole time, and now you immediately want to kill somebody? Like, what's going on? But it turns out that she is descended from the Greek gods. She's a scion, and they're cursed by the fates to want to kill anyone in a rival scion line that they come across. So when this new family of scions moves to town, she is immediately wanting to kill them all, and it's sort of a star-crossed lovers relationship, and it's just, I had a really good time reading it. I might have to reread the series now that I've been talking about it, but yeah, it's super fun. They have to kind of overcome all of their obstacles. It's so good. I hope. Question 11 is Legally Blonde. What You Want is the song. But the question is, what do you want to see more of in books? Now for this, my answer is going to be probably not a surprise to anyone who has watched earlier in this tag, but it's star-crossed lovers. I love a good doomed romance that, you know, perseveres, like that Romeo and Juliet style thing. Like Romeo and Juliet is like not a good relationship, but the trope I'm here for. And like none of this rubbish enemies to lovers nonsense that the romance industry seems to think. I want like star-crossed. Like they don't hate each other, they just can't be together. Or like they could start off hating each other, but no one ever does enemies to lovers like properly. It's always just like barely rivals to lovers. I want people on opposite sides of a conflict, you know, falling in love. Like This Is How You Lose the Time War had that perfectly. Like there was never massive animosity between them, but they were on different sides of a conflict and had to like struggle within themselves to resolve that. Like I love that. It's my jam. And there's not enough of it. I want more. Yeah, and also, you know, like more like queer people, more people of different religions, just like generally more of different people, different body types, different everything. Like give me just a little more diversity in books, please and thank you. And finally, we have the bonus round, which is pick your favourite musical and recommend a book based that reminds you of it. And I'm obviously a super basic human, and I have gone for Hadestown, which is one of my favourite musicals of all time. I listen to it non-stop. It's always on when I'm in the shower. It's so good. And Hadestown is a retelling of the Orpheus Eurydice story of Greek myth, set in a sort of industrial vibe. It's got great social commentary and it's a vibe. We're going to go with The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, which is what? It's a reimagining of the Achilles Patroclus story set during the Trojan War. It starts off with them as children and it watches them grow up, and it's very sad and devastating, but also beautifully written, and the romance in it is like heart-wrenching, and it's just one of my favourite books of all time, and I think more people should read it. But I've also heard that a lot of people have gone into this thinking it's like a straight up romance, and it's not. It is a retelling of a Greek story. It's a retelling of like the Iliad, but just focusing on two of the characters, and it's phenomenal. But now if we want to go down a different vibe, if we want to focus on the whole industrial vibe and the social commentary that's provided by Hadestown, could go for The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow, which is one of my newest favourite books of all time, and it's about three sisters in like an alt history America in like the late 1800s, who meet up again for the first time in years accidentally at a suffragette march and decide that they want to bring magic back. And it's so good. Great social commentary, great characters, great writing, and it's chef's kiss. And my final recommendation for Hadestown, I know I'm stretching this a little bit, like bear with me, is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, because Hadestown has the whole vibe of someone makes a deal with someone they shouldn't and ends up with issues surrounding memory, and you know, tenuous link here, but that vibe is very much present in The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So if you like Hadestown or you like this book, you should consume the other media, basically, is what I'm trying to say there. Now, one of my other favourite musicals is The Hunchback of Notre Dame, music by Alan Menken. I love him, he's great. But it very much deals with the theme of like what makes a monster or what makes a man. Lyric pulled there directly from The Bells of Notre Dame, and Laini Taylor plays with that theme a lot in all of her works, so I recommend that you pick up either Door of Smoke and Bone or Strange the Dreamer. I recommend reading the trilogy first and then reading the Strange the Dreamer duology, just because the ends sort of tie together in a way that would make sense if you did it that way, but it's not necessary. They're separate. But yeah, the themes in this trilogy that are related to what makes someone evil and like morality and like what is a monster is very much present in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is an excellent musical. And I know most people have just seen the Disney film, but the musical is top tier. And finally, no more recommendations for you, but if you have any recommendations for me based on the musical I'm about to describe now, please leave them down below. Like, I feel like it's a vibe, but I haven't read anything. So my next favourite musical is Bear, a pop opera, which I think is massively underrated, and it makes me sob every time I listen to it. It's very emotional. It's about two teenage guys who go to a private school, like a boarding school. It's a Catholic boarding school, and they're in love with each other, and it's devastating. So take from that what you will. It's heart-wrenching. So if you have like sad gay Catholic vibes in any kind of book, like please let me know what they are. I will very sadly read them. I doubt there will be much happiness going on, but like Catholic school can really fuck a girl up, you know? So yeah, and that's it from the musical theatre tag. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I had fun thinking of all this, and I will be singing these songs for so long now. But yeah, that's all from me. I will hopefully be uploading videos every Wednesday and Sunday, so I will see you in the next one.